starts looking real good. What the inside of your nuts looks like. That's a lot of kids. It's jumping around. I wonder if you hold it up to your ear like a seashell, you can hear them. What are you doing?
Oh, I made this indent in his hand so it doesn't hurt when I lay face down.
Oh, I think he's on to something. What's that other hole for? Oh, to be a man. You know, y'all don't even have to get up to go to the bathroom. I have a face hole and then a toilet hole. Excellent. Bubble gum, cherry pop, go to the hop. Hanging with my brother because his friends help my blood. Bruising. Oh, bruising. Oh.
That medicine weren't helping at all.
Hey, you brave acting like this in front of your mother. And that would have done it.
That would have gotten me smacked.
You see that guy? He began the gym. I mean, why not both? When you accidentally give your toddler the mint toothpaste. Oh, wait, really? Is mint toothpaste too spicy for toddlers? Maybe you should grow up. Get welcome to the real world. Basically try mouthwash, little baby. Hello, friends. It's me. But today I'm going to be watching some TikToks. Companies that test products on animals. Steam? They go test their games on your dog? What the dog doing? They got a lab where they force dogs to test their games before they release them? Yep.
Oh my god.
What's going to be wrong about what kind of platform signed up for?
Oh my god, that's funny. You are one funny person.
You wait till Peter hears about this one. You know, at least we know all our games are dog approved.
He got the wolf. Oh, okay.
Hello? Turn it on the clock. How many takes it took to film this? Because it's definitely not just like a one and done thing. That is the patient knocked out on the operating table. Anesthesia wearing off. Because your doctor and the entire medical staff decided to film a TikTok mid-surgery. You know when you go to the doctor and they walk out of the room for like 30 minutes? You know, I always thought they'd be Googling what's wrong with you. And they're probably just making a TikTok. I don't know which is worse. POV, you brushed that ginger military girl's hair. Holy big kids! Did she dump the whole cup of gel on her hair? Why is there so much? Look at all the slime tubs you buy off TikTok. You know, if you need that much jelly, you should probably consider Gorilla Glue. Don't actually. POV and meteor hits the earth and you jump to avoid the shockwave. If there's anything that video games have taught me, there's like an explosion, some kind of shockwave. Just jump over it. You're good. You're safe. Your point life is that simple. How does this even happen? This is all like a very slippery slide. Hey, don't slip and slide. That's important. Slide your head on each side. Oh, of course you're gonna get off like nothing happened and go back on it and do it again.
Plastic Easter eggs with monkeys.
Two bottles of inside plastics tied together on your phone. I wanted to hear what kind of jingle that made. Monkeys and Easter eggs and made some maraca. Shake kind of goes hard. What's wrong with your sandwich? Going out of a sandwich. I didn't even think this was possible. But when he takes a bite, it leaves a little gap from his tooth. In theory, it makes sense. Snapping teeth leave gap in food. Learn something new every day. Passed away. I should have become a skin for her. I mean, just for care. Real this before she passed away. Her final wish. Become a skin on Fortnite. Oh, I can't tell if this is a real skin. I have not seen her running around my game. Epic. What are you doing? Did y'all not hear her final wish? Make it happen. You look like you're here with a bunch of friends. Are these all your friends? No? Okay, well, then why are you here? You like Travis Scott? It looks like you do. I have never buffet today? What are you looking forward to today with this group? The buffet. I don't care about any of these people. I'm here for the food. I'm here for the buffet. Hey, bro, you want this goldfish? Right. It's gonna get you some tacos. You think they'll like it? How did it go like that? It's like it was edited in. Oh, that was a much higher jump than I thought it was gonna be. Like falling in slow motion. I guess they do want the goldfish. Watch me toss this toy at my side.
My dog mocks me. Said birds are real. Yeah, what the? These, huh? Tell me these aren't real.
No, they are simply a figment of your imagination. Why is there a nest plastered on a wall with some baby birds who haven't learned to chirp yet? So they sing the intro of Sicko Mode.
Tell me these aren't real.
Nope, not real. Birds don't exist. You're gonna do it, they're gonna touch stuff. What was that? In a world where stars fly. Oh, the beginning of a beautiful romance. Learn how to break dance in 5 seconds. How? How are you doing it? That's a start. And some people cannot handle the power washer. Oh, tumble. You know, use this as a learning opportunity. Oh, we got some real cone heads. Goes pretty hard. The cone heads are singing it. This is so awkward. You know, most of the time when I go get my hair done, I hate it. And then they'll be like, can I take a picture and post it on social media? And I'm going to be like, sure. But just the back of my head, I'm going to be like this. I'm not going to smile and hate it. Just a picture of me with my new hair. Tears running down my face. And then she'll still caption it, crying tears of joy because she likes her cut so much. Apparently this filter shows you your biggest insecurities. Alright, I'm gonna need to see her take a bite out of the sandwich. Hey, what is this for? Do you want to watch Science or no? He ain't just washing his hair, he's beating the demons out of his head. Like it was salon or exorcism.
This stuff is so cool.
Hello, YouTube, and
Welcome back to another video. Today we're playing part 2 of long-awaited new series on channel.
How we make adaptations to the environment to help us, help our lives where we live. All right. Deal. Now let's see. Yeah, I can't.
We'll see. Maybe Christmas still. But regardless, if you guys seem to really like episode 1 that we did, so I thought
Sure.
we'll be continuing this as a series from now on the channel.
Now the chat is different, so sure that everyone is. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get us started. for today's lesson.
This meeting is being recorded.
So good morning, scholars. Today is Monday, so I hope you had a great weekend. We are ready to continue. Move a little bit more into our unit, and we are going to look at limited resources and change. So how these resources impact our lives, and then are they changing stuff? All right, so let me put, if I can do this, in the chat. I want to put in the needed to get you the all right, here we go. So in the chat is the Nearpod link. If you will grab that, there's a couple of activities today that you can do as we work through our Nearpod. All right, so let's go ahead and we will get started with natural resources, those that are limited, and how things have changed. So the first activity is a matching game. Remember, this is practice without penalty. It's just for fun, but it will help review some of those important vocabulary words. And again, it takes us back to our lesson from Thursday. So go ahead and answer those, match them. It's like the old-fashioned game of concentration where you match those. Tell me if you need a little bit more time. Okay, looks like you guys are getting started on that. Okay, that's fine. I'll give you some time. So we talked about the seawall and how that was constructed after the hurricane that hit Galveston. We talked about a black lizard that was part of the Dust Bowl. We said the dirt in the air went as far as New York and then mixed with the snows. We definitely talked about the Great Depression. And then I think the rest of them you may can just do from good test taking skills where you are eliminating, process of elimination.
I don't know, decided to start walking at him earlier.
Good. Some students getting all of those done.
And made eye contact before this guy started walking. I don't know. Who knows what could have happened? I mean, I guess the car alarm could have gone off. Hopefully the car was locked. Like, you always lock the car, right? If you're alone in the room that night.
All right. Let's go ahead and begin. Today's objectives, we are going to look at water resources, and we know that those are limited and how access has changed and can impact the people of that area. So we'll look at some actual court cases that help determine who has access to that water. And then we're going to look at some alternative energy sources. This is one of the essay questions that will be on your unit test. We'll take just a minute to talk about those and how they are changing economy even today. So these aren't things that are just in the past. We're still seeing these today. So we've reviewed some of our vocabulary. Again, some of these are familiar to you. Some of these you'll look at and you'll think, oh, these are words that we talk a lot about in science as well. So let's look at water in Texas, a most precious resource. A lot of times we don't even think of water. We kind of take it for granted. I walk to the sink, I turn on my faucet, and boom, I should have water that comes out. But if you've ever not had that access, you know it can be a real challenge. We just had a week in Texas where we had some extreme temperatures, and some of you may have had the situation where some water can freeze, or maybe you went outside and the dog's bowl water was frozen. So we know when we don't have that quick, fast, and easy access to water, we realize, wow, it's really important. So we're not talking about water that just comes out of faucet. We're talking about water resources across the state. So when droughts happen, we realize how much we depend on, and they recharge when the groundwater fills back up the aquifer. So as a result of rain, maybe even some snow, I guess. Some snow runoff. So how much water does Texas have, and where is it? So Texas has more than a dozen rivers and 11,000 streams that provide water for irrigation. Irrigation is that system by where you get the water to usually the crops where it is needed, because not every farm has a stream right there on it. So you've got to get the water somehow to the crops. And we talked about that a lot in 6th grade world history, because this is where those ancient civilizations grew up. They had to have a water source. They had to figure out how to irrigate so that they could grow their crops. We have 13 major and minor aquifers, and again, that's the layer of rock that holds that underground water. 2 types of water systems are identified in Texas law. So the 2 types of water systems that we recognize are surface water and ground water. Those are pretty self-explanatory. Surface water, but we're going to talk a little bit more about those in detail. Now, that Ogallala aquifer that we saw in our opening little brain teaser, that is used primarily for ranching and farming on the Great Plains. So the water in the Ogallala aquifer is what farmers and ranchers on the Great Plains use, primarily. So you wouldn't think about, I wouldn't really just think, oh, do people start arguing over who owns the water? And yes, that is what happened early on. So Texas water laws are a combination of the early Spanish laws, because remember, Spain was the first European country in our area, in Texas. So many of our laws are from those Spanish systems. But then, as the settlers came from what is the East Coast, the Atlantic Ocean, and a lot of them came from England. So when those settlers start traveling west and they come into this area, where Spain owned it first, and we were under France for a little bit, Mexico, when those settlers came in, they're going to bring their laws and their traditions. So Texas laws are a combination of both of those, and it makes it a little bit complicated. So some major legislative and judicial impacts of Texas water. And got a misspelled word there. Catch that one. So all the way back to 1895, we have the Irrigation Act. And that will apply to all of Texas. So anything prior that was appropriated is going to apply to Texas. Then in 1904, we will have the Houston, Texas Central Railroad Company versus the WA East, and that will establish the rule of capture for groundwater use. Then in 1913, the Burgess-Glasscock Act, and that will establish the Texas Water Commission. So now we have a government agency saying, okay, we're going to have to help you guys sort this out. And then 1926, Model versus Boyd. People are guaranteed the rights to use surface water from streams for irrigation. So several legislative situations that help us establish who gets what. So the Texas Water Commission will help cities and counties manage these water resources. And this agency will require that people apply for permits to use the surface water in Texas. So remember, we have the surface water and the groundwater. So we have the two types of water. So let's do a little bit more explaining or defining what that means. So when we hear the term groundwater, that applies to those underground aquifers. So who owns that? That's going to be the property owner. So if you own land and underneath that is an aquifer, that's the groundwater. That's going to be yours, the property owners. Surface water is the surface. That's the stuff on the top. Rivers, lakes, streams, rainwater, floodwaters, bays. That belongs to the state of Texas. So two different types, the groundwater and the surface water. Let's make sure we understand which is which. We're going to do a little drag and drop in a minute. And then who owns what. So here are some specific examples. Groundwater, the aquifers. So water pumped from the Ogallala aquifer. And I showed you a picture on a map of that Ogallala aquifer. We were doing our brain teaser. It also includes drinking water from the Edwards aquifer. Surface water. Some examples of that. That is water taken from the Falcone International Reservoir. This is just an example. And water used in San Antonio's Asquith. And then here's a third example or classification is diffused surface water. So diffused. So this could be melted snow, the runoff, let's say up in the Guadalupe Mountains, and the flood water, so when things flood, okay? So they're still part of that surface, but they're diffused, okay? So they came from somewhere else, right? All right, so here are some different examples. Now, let's do a quick little drag and drop. See if you remember which is which. So you are going to place the correct example under the type of water defined by Texas laws. We've got groundwater, surface water, and diffused surface water. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to drag and drop those. Should be a few questions. Put it in the chat.
Once again, there were 3 more knocks. And the sound of scratching started. First gently, then loudly, as if the rat was trying to bite
Okay,
the wall.
so you're working on it?
It lasted for around a minute.
Good.
It stopped. Only when it did, I gathered enough courage to slightly shift my position. That was a mistake, though.
Welcome, those of you joining us, glad you're here. We are working on the different water resources. Some examples.
I couldn't tell for sure. It looked like whoever was there.
So the water taken from the Falcone International Reservoir, that would go under surface water.
I decided that the
Water
best thing to
pumped
do
from the aquifer, the Ogallala, that's going to be groundwater.
was try and distract myself.
Water used in the San Antonio,
Number
how
6.
do I say that?
If someone
Yes,
walks into
it's
your
going to be
room
surface
while
water.
you're sleeping, you have to
Melted
do that.
snow from the
Pretend
Guadalupe
that you're still asleep.
Mountains is going to be
In the worst case
diffused.
scenario, the person will sit
Floodwaters
on
from
the
the
bed
Trinity
and
River,
observe.
diffused.
So do your best not to
And then
let
the
anyone
drinking
get
water
you.
from the Edwards
If you feel
aquifer
their breath on
is
your
going
neck,
to be
and it gets
ground
progressively closer,
water.
it means they've realized you're awake. Number 7.
So that was looking at the different water sources and again, looking at some of the legislative situations that have said, okay, who owns what? Okay. Now let's talk about some alternative energy sources because we're talking about some different changes to the different resources that we have available to us. So we know from our science classes we've got renewable and non-renewable. So non-renewable means they cannot be replaced. Those are our fossil fuels, right? Petroleum, oil, natural gas. We're pretty good with that one. The renewable means that they can be replenished, they can be renewed. We have examples like lumber, wind, nuclear, biomass, that's where plant and animal matter is burned, solar, geothermal, and hydroelectricity. So these are renewables that can be replenished. You see some pictures there with some examples. And again, I know you have a strong background on that because you talk about this a lot in your science classes. So you understand the difference in renewable and non-renewable. There's a picture there. You can do a little sort. But I want you to look at the graph underneath it because this is going to be on your unit test question. So when we read a graph, the first thing we're always going to look at, of course, is the title. So these are energy types used in Texas. And then we're going to read our axis, the X and the Y axis. So we're going to look at the titles. It's a bar graph. We've got wind, nuclear, other, solar, coal, and gas. And then we're going to look to see this is measured in percentages. And we see it in increments of 10. 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50. These are percentages. And so then it tells us, although nearly 40% of all Texans have turned to renewable resources as alternative sources of energy, in the early 2020s, over half of the state's residents still depend on non-renewable resources.
Probably not. At least I hope it's not. At least I hope
So we see it's a mixture of both. But but we know that there's a lot of use still of those non-renewables, the coal and the gas. Read the graph and see that. The renewables are there, and it says 40% of Texans are using them, but we still rely heavily on those non-renewables. So you'll have a test question about that. Just make sure that you read and look at the graph carefully. So let's talk just a minute about wind energy. This is the largest alternative source of energy in Texas. And give me a thumbs up if you live in an area where you see these huge wind turbines around your area. I know I live in West Texas. We have them. I see them. Texas is the largest producer of wind power in the nation. 25% of all wind energy that is used in the U.S. makes up, comes from Texas. And this is an example of a wind farm. And I think in your lessons you'll read about one community. Yes, thank you, Raymond. One community that was struggling, and when they brought in these wind turbines, people got paid a lot of money to have them on their land. So again, it does impact the economy. Good, Isabella. Thank you. Yes, when you go on road trips, you see them all over the place, don't you? Good. So that's wind energy. Let's look at nuclear energy. This makes up 10% of the state's electricity. We have 2 nuclear plants in Texas. These plants are cost effective and it helps protect. Oh, great, that's pretty good. I'm glad to hear that. And it protects the air quality. But there is always going to be the fear of these accidents and the hazardous waste, because in history we have had situations of these nuclear plants having meltdowns or something and giving off some of that very dangerous byproducts of that. So yes, there is the fear of accidents and hazardous waste. But nuclear energy is another alternate form of energy. Solar. Tell me if you have solar panels, or if you see those in your community, on some houses, or sometimes out in the fields. You might see these. So solar energy in Texas, you see many. Yes, good. Think out my Pecos. There's a huge, I mean, how many miles of just solar panels. Okay, but you don't have them. Texas is the second largest producer of solar energy. So number 1 in wind, number 2 in solar. Semiconductors are used to produce solar equipment. Army bases in Texas began, oh my goodness. Somehow my changes didn't say. I need to do some editing, don't I? So the Army bases started using them in 2011, and tax incentives have been given to consumers to actually start implementing some of this. There's a solar farm. Oh, they have fires. That would be really good. So solar energy, Texas is the second largest producer. Just got kicked out. All right, we're going to play Time to Climb. Give me just a second. Let's do sports. You get signed back in. Okay, here we go. Again, this is just for fun. And it won't kind of recap recap our
He had been shopping through the entire store and would have to look for it. I asked him if he had bought anything, and he told me yes.
lesson today where we looked at energy sources and alternatives.
I pointed that out to him, and it seemed a bit taken back.
So join the game if you would. Only join with your first. Well, I don't know if you can only join with your first name. I might have to change it. But we just have 5 questions, so we're just going to do a quick review of the different energy sources that we talked about today. The water, obviously, alternatives to the non-renewables. So join the game. Tell me if you need a little bit more time to get in. If not, we'll go ahead and get started.
At that point, I told the guy that that's like a people.
Anybody need more time? Go ahead and start the game then. Say I need more time.
He got really swearing. He grabbed the board and shaking.
Each statement just explains how the 1960s foreign police the Belmont Institute,
As I made my way over there, I noticed the guy.
the economic institute, the water loss, the Congress using water for the output and the reservoir in the lower Rio Grande Valley.
It took me about 2 hours to honestly finish all my work. I hadn't heard the deal and pretty much figured that I wouldn't be seeing him again.
It overturned the old Spanish and Mexican laws for the everyone to the water. Everyone had access and the next problem, right? So which of the following statements best describes modern purpose water laws? Modern. Remember our Texas laws? Are complicated. That combination of Spanish laws, the first and the English laws. People became later. Which of these statements describes groundwater usage taken from the overall
Before he could realize what had happened in the cupboard, I was able to get the door closed and locked. I immediately called the police. The guy left after the door was locked, but the police picked him up. That's the end of the first story. God damn.
It's primarily defined influence on the building.
How did you make it in the car? Like, did you not lock the door? Or no, did you like break it?
Each of these statements
Like get unlocked?
thus
Lock it?
explains the effect of the renewable energy resources
I
to the person economy.
That is definitely creepy. Customer service, one of the most terrifying jobs out there for sure. And the fact that a bookstore
Remember
closes
the graph that we looked at.
kind of crazy. Like the Barnes and Noble in my place, they really close it up. And I guess,
Here we go.
well, I guess you can technically say that. Like, well, with 2 hours.
The renewable
Like,
energy
if I'm being
industry
honest,
is
at that
growing.
point, like, if this guy is outside of my door swearing at me and saying he's not going to, he's like,
That's
shutting
why
down
I'm
20 to 11 stores and making it well. Like, the first
How
time
has it
I'm
been
calling
connected?
I'm calling the police right there. I'm going to the friends too.
Of
Making sure
solar
I'm not walking down there alone.
energy.
Like, this literally is the plot of the closing ship. Killers are the closing ship. This is literally the plot, bro. Only difference is it's not a cafe, it's a bookstore, but exact same plot. I got that bad ending too. It was losing my car. It is literally the same, but honestly pretty terrifying. Story number 2 here.
Right. It was giving them tax
It says,
certificates
shopping
and
and
exemptions.
I really wanted a PlayStation 4 when it was originally released. I tried everything to get one as quickly as possible. The local Best Buy was having a Black Friday sale, and I
First
stood in
place
for the
is
sale one. I was nowhere near being
what
lucky enough
price?
to actually get one this
Mia
method.
and
I didn't
AJ.
find anyone online.
Congratulations.
As much as I wanted one, the people on eBay and Amazon who were reselling them were asking way too much money.
All right. Congratulations to our winners. So today we just have a short lesson because today we were looking specifically at our natural resources and how those are changing and the different renewable and non-renewable resources and how those are impacting the economy. So we looked at the water, who owns the water, and then we looked at wind, solar, nuclear, the different alternative types of energy, because that certainly is important to Texas. So not just the oil, but we're number one in wind and number two in solar. So for Texas, we will continue and look at, let's see, next Thursday, we're going to look at innovations to natural resources and continue looking at specific natural resources on Thursday. Now, you've got a discussion that is coming up in your lessons. Please be sure that you read the introduction because we are skipping that one. So you look at the lesson and then just move forward, but we actually will not do that discussion. Your discussion is with me. So if you have not completed your check-in or your chat with me, please book a time and we will get that done. A lot of you have already done that, and I appreciate that. Don't forget that you're filling out your study guide as you complete each lesson. And just another reminder, this is the week for the TEA interim test. This is just a great way to practice the test that you will take for your state assessment that's coming up here in April. So it will be here before we know it. You, as a seventh grader, will take the reading and you will take the math. So these interim tests are just a great way to practice so that you're familiar and comfortable with the different tools, the online structure of how that works. If you take both of those tests, the reading and the math, you're going to get extra bonus points on your Unit 2 test in Texas history. So yes, you'll get extra points from your reading teacher for that test. You're going to get extra points from your math teacher for that test. But science and social studies, we are also going to give you some extra bonus points because we really want you to participate in this, and you'll need to take both. Okay, so make sure you carve out a little bit extra time because those tests do take time. We also want to honor that you're spending that time to do that. So thank you. I appreciate you guys being here. I'm going to go ahead and stop our recording.
The recording has stopped.
And I will see you on Thursday, Ben. And if you have any questions, you're welcome.
He apologized for being so late and finally got caught up in the day. He asked if I had the money. I opened the door, but kept the screen closed. I told him I had the money, but I didn't see that he had anything with him. I asked if he had brought the PS4 with him. It was just out in his hand. He asked me to get the money and come out to them with him, and he would give it to me right away. I don't know, I wasn't really comfortable walking past him van, and he told me it was all right. I looked over his shoulder and saw that someone was in the van moving. And he was keeping his hand on the hooded sweatshirt all the time while he was talking to me. There was something more than this is him. I told him I would go to my wallet and went back. As I closed the door in his face, and blocked it. I was too uncomfortable with this, and I went over to my phone to call the cops. As I did, I heard a loud hit on my front door. A few moments later, I watched the van drive away When I went to check and see if he'd get on the front door, I really fainted and saw a knife embedded into the door itself. I was right. He had something in his sweatshirt, and that I shouldn't have gone out to begin with him.
It sucks to be wrong about what your view actually means. But it's great to be wrong about Tinder. Because a new relationship starts on Tinder every 3 seconds.
Why don't I have a Sharpie? Like,
After you work out, you can feel worn out. Reach for core power and rise to a whole new level of recovery. Protein to build muscle. Electrolytes to help hydrate. So you can power on. Champion your recovery with core power.
Well, I'll tell you, your first mistake is looking for a PS4 on Craigslist. That is definitely your first mistake. Oh my goodness gracious. I would never ever give anyone my address. So like, if it's like a, I don't know, exchange, nah, never dude. That is just, you're just asking for stuff. Either like, you know, in a funny place, or it's just too good to be true. Especially if like this is a deal where this guy is selling at this price. Already a record. And then asking for your address, is that worth the PS4? Is your life worth the PlayStation 4? I love selling you, bro. I saw that. You just saw it. Everyone can see it. Although now I'm thinking about it, when I was buying furniture on like one of my apartment on Facebook Marketplace, I did give people like my address. They showed up my Facebook. So I'm a little bit, hypocritical in that sense. But I really enjoy that public. That's why I really enjoy a lot of stuff about television. It's not. It's still. Yeah, I mean, also, the furniture I bought was kind of overpriced and a little bit expensive. So, not a real fan. If anything, I'll come back to that. But, you know, it is what it is. Anyways, third and final story is thread. And this one is simply called What? Oh. Normally, I don't go out Christmas shopping on Black Friday. I know there are groups that got me, but the actual amount of people who get them is pretty low. It sometimes seems that no negativity comes out of the men. I did go out on Black Friday once, and honestly, the experience kept me from ever even considering doing it again. This was a few years back. A big Christmas gift from a really hard, really no it's it was supposed to sell out pretty quickly, and nothing really wanted to sell. I decided for the first time ever to brave the Black Friday crowd and see about it. I really got started the store in the first place. The entire time, a couple million people were so fanatic about this. It was cold, and although I was reasonably bundled up, I couldn't help but spend so much time not moving. In addition, people were in careless spots, which seemed to take the spirit away from the event. Some people would try to cut in line as well, which only made the people ahead of the line probably even worse. When the store was getting closer to opening, I noticed that there was someone from the store coming out and talking to each person in line. When he got to me, I realized he was handing out tickets, indicating he would be able to buy an in-app attachment. He asked me if that was why I was there, and I told him yes. He told me I was lucky then because I was getting the very last ticket. Of course, this caused some yelling and swearing from people behind me. although I agree with the idea that there would be a lot of children who wouldn't be getting the children money, that's me. That was until this guy got like money and left it to me. He came up immediately after the open house. Of course, he offered to advertise. I didn't know because it wasn't a matter of money. It was me trying to make my nephew happy. He then started telling me that his son was the one that killed him. And I kept refusing, and he started telling me other stories, such as his son was really sick, but I could tell he was just doing his best to make him feel good. We floated back in the line, a few other people began telling me about it to leave me alone. We got into a shouting match instead of a fight. Eventually, the guy started up, but not before telling me
How to spell the Great Wall of China
I tried not to think about it.
in Chinese?
I figured that since I had spent so much time outside waiting that I should try to get as much done as I could. When I was done in the store, I went back out to my car. I put all the tools in the trunk and then walked over to the bookstore in the strip mall in order to get some money items.
I see the guy behind her. Where? Literally nowhere. Oh my god. This is annoying. Whatever. I guess I believe you. I believe you all the other times. The same green shirt even. Oh my god. More! Mars! Stop it! Hi. It's doing good. I'm spelling out the Great Wall of China in Chinese right now. Because why not? And none of these things are picking up in me my red. So why would you want to pick up my red? Why do you? Hey, that's what's up. Is that one of your homework assignments? You have to. Yeah, Doc. I have to make a Chinese art drawing, and this is what I have so far. And down here is where it's gonna spell the Great Wall of China, but in Chinese, because I'm Duolingo. I'm more. Okay, I got you. You're doing a great job on that picture. Thank you. I was making the Great Wall of China, and I couldn't finish the rest of it. So I guess after I'm done spelling this, I'm done. And then I finally have to get to work.
This is a live submission finish this off. Now, if any of you guys watch this video, let's submit the story for yourself.
I would love to.
If you go to Discord, I think I will start doing a channel where I will let you submit your own true story encounters
I would.
based on potentially future episodes. As well as just, maybe all of them you can do stuff other than Reddit threads and stories. Maybe you can
Bots. Bots.
true
Hi.
stories on you guys. True story that.
Okay, what? It's all good. At least you're doing the your best, trying to get everything done. Right? Hype. This stupid fly. Yeah, definitely. You two fingers to enter that. Yeah, I do. Oh my god, this person is stupid. Oh? Doggy, but I kidnap you. Bro, why is this so hard to do? I'm literally like copying off of something and I'm about to spell out something that isn't spelled the great way. Like, and then I had to write down, like, I had to like type down a bunch of stuff, like about what my drawing was, and I wasn't even thinking about making the Great Wall of China. I was literally thinking about just drawing like a dress or a plate, like honey. And I still have feelings about it. Yeah, I do. I'm sure. Uh, okay. These cats are pretty big.
So I have what part of the story is supposed to be holiday or Christmas theme?
So how feelings from you guys?
Christmas Eve.
I don't know.
It was Christmas Eve. And you had no one to spend it with. You were so alone. You still had to work that day. And you just get to play with them. It was Christmas Eve. And then you come home to the dorm. And you're back to the dorm. It's a terrible night. You're hungry. You're starving. But, it's too late. All the food still were closed. So you decide I'm just going to go back hungry. It's sad, but it's fine. You shower, you freshen up, and then you come out. Notice, hey, you try to lock the door. But the door is just slightly ajar. And this is very scary because in the dorm complex that you live in, it's pretty much empty. Everyone is gone for Christmas holidays. And you're like basically the only one in this complex. You think, that's a little bit weird. But maybe just how you can just make the back to close the door. So you walk in, you don't think anything of it. You go turn on the computer, turn on your favorite YouTube or some channel at such on the mornings, and you watch a bunch of videos because that's just what you do from time. And at that point, it's past midnight, you've been watching videos for like 5 hours at this point. And you decide, okay, that's enough, I'm going to go up and go to bed. So you get up, you can go into the bathroom. That's when you notice the door. It's slightly open again. You can see where you locked it. You're for sure this time. This can't be happening. As you walk over to the door, you see your face. You feel piercing hands.
Oh,
You really know it's coming. You get that feeling in your stomach tells you that if you turn, you will die
oh,
as quickly as you can. You get up. It's really passionate at this point. You walk out the door and as fast as you can, calling to get the heck out of there.
hmm.
To this day, you still think about this encounter that you chose. And you realize what it must have been was the ghost of Anthony Chen haunting you because you weren't subscribed to all 3 of his YouTube channels. So this is
Okay. Yeah, I'm off of it. Sorry. Was ever I did to make you lose those feelings with endless criticism? Please erase this color because I want to make a little paints, watercolor, whatever the heck. Very, very beautiful. Also, I'm going to like one block, so it's time to work on something else.
Sponsors for you, so I have to stay at school. While I'm here, you're doing that.
I guess I still have a question. You're still
Experiences ever because like you're just totally alone in this like pretty big like house, right? And I'm not gonna lie, my sleep schedule was like a little bit messed up at that point. My sleeping schedule was a little bit messed up at that point. So I would always be awake until like 3 or 4 a.m. Whenever I was hungry around like midnight or like 1 a.m. I would always go to like the lecture halls like 5 or 10 minutes away, and then I would just use the vending machines there to like get a snack, and then I come back after I had it. And this is an important part. So one night I went at night. I mean, yeah, I'm hungry. What are you gonna do? You're gonna starve me? But one night I went during my spring break, and campus like a ghost town. All the rooms are open, but like all are closed.
Take a glass of water while I'm eating. Honey, I'm not eating there. You're crazy. I ain't eating. I'm not that big bat. I love that. Okay, I'll be right back, y'all. I'm gonna go show this to my mom, and then I'm gonna go empty out my water. I'll be right back.
I go downstairs to get hot water. When I come out, like the TV in the living room is open, but there's literally no one in the living room watching TV. And I'm like, okay, maybe someone just left it on. Like, there's definitely someone else in like this housing complex with me, right? But I literally not seen anyone. I swear to God, I haven't seen anyone in a long time. So I don't know, I leave it on. I go downstairs, I get my hot water, I get my cup noodles out of my cup, come back upstairs. It's like the TV is off now. I'm like, okay, there's definitely someone else here with me, right? So then I go back to my room and I don't think anything of it. And Tuesday, was there someone with me? I don't know. Maybe someone else was there for spring break. Why are they up at 1 a.m. watching TV and leaving me on? I don't know, but kind of a similar freaky experience. Bro doesn't care? Yeah, I honestly don't care that much. I don't really care that much either. But anyways, these stories definitely pretty creepy. Sammy, like it's not bad, you know what I mean? It's not bad, but I'm being honest. Maybe focus on the writing aspect of it. You already just now, yeah, that explains it. You know, it's so creepy. I hope you never experience something like that again. Like dark creepy figure in the corner of your room. I mean, did you move? You had to get back to the dorm, right? After I don't know, your roommate, was there like anything there or was it like normal? It was normal? Okay. Well, I wish you a better experience in the future. Anyways, if you're watching this video on YouTube, thank you very much for making it to the end of this 5 allegedly true creepy stories from Reddit and Sammy. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. Definitely do want to try making another episode of this in the future. So like I said, if you have any stories that you'd like to submit, be sure to join the Discord. I will probably put up a channel in the future when I do want to. Definitely super interesting. Wish you guys all a wonderful holidays. If it's not the holidays anymore by the time you're watching this, happy New Year and best. Wish you the best. Stay safe. Have a wonderful time with your friends and family. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace.
It sucks to be wrong about how much spice is too much spice for date night. But it's great to be wrong about Tinder, because a new relationship starts on Tinder every 3 seconds.
At 9:05 a.m. on February 13th, 1909, a group of dairy farmers in Tillamook, Oregon started making cheddar. Over 150 years later, we're still celebrating that moment every chance we get.
And welcome back to a very special edition here on the Mornings channel. By the time you're watching this, I really hope it will still be October. If it's not, that's okay as well. We're always down for a good spooky time on this channel. But every, Halloween/October, I try to do something special on the Morant channel. And last year, we did a creepypasta reading. I don't know if you guys saw that. And this year, I thought we would do something similar, except I hear Reddit horror stories have been trending. My idea here today is we are going to be reading out a couple of horror stories, allegedly true horror stories from Reddit, and we are going to be reacting to them on stream Now, this is definitely a very experimental concept. I have no idea what this video is going to look like. I really hope it will turn out well, but I don't know. You let me know if you want to see more of these. Perhaps we can even bring it back, more often. It doesn't have to just be for October. So yeah, let me know down below in the comments. But if you would like to join us on Twitch, of course, watch these live. Twitch.tv/Anthony Chen. If you enjoy the content, like, comment, subscribe. I don't know, do whatever you want to do. But yeah, got a couple of true horror stories here today. And
Oh yeah.
it should be a very interesting time. So I know a lot of you guys eat or just throw on these videos while you're working on the side. So hopefully this will be some good listening material for you as well. And with that being said, here's how we're going to do things. Boom! Stories right here. We're going to be reading through these and then you guys can follow along with us. Right, so let's begin with, of course, story number 1. By the way, I've asked our editor Andy to pick out all of these stories. I gave them a quick look, but I didn't actually read all of them. I had to save my reaction for this video / on stream. So I just want to let you guys know if they are bad. It's not my fault. We will play them together. So still creeps me out every time I think of it. This is the first story from r/True Scary Stories, posted 13 days ago from the user I'm not the joy you're looking for. Interesting username. And there is a tag here. It says spooky. So I guess it will be spooky. Let's hope so. A few years ago, fall/early winter of 2019, we were staying with my husband's father. We rented/moved into a house a couple of months later, and we were staying there less than a week at the time this happened. I slept in the living room on an air mattress with our kids, ages 10, 5, and 1. The kitchen, dining room, and living room were all open space. There was a wide counter and sink.
Subtitles, yeah.
Bar on
Thank
the
you,
living room
Chico.
side and
Come
never
here.
had stools or used it like that, no. Always had a sofa pushed right up to it, and a storage of dishes and whatever in the kitchen side.
Oh.
On each end of the counter, there was about 4 or 5 space between it, and that is a lot of description. I guess they're trying to be as accurate as possible. Along the wall directly opposite to the front door were 3 doors. Wait, along the wall directly opposite the front door. Oh, so I guess you come in through the front door, and then there's just 1, 2, 3 doors straight up facing you. There's the father-in-law's bedroom, bathroom, spare room from left to right. My husband slept on the tiny spare bed. His dad kept the door to his room closed, and usually had a TV and, depending on the weather, either a space heater, window AC unit, or at least one fan going. I don't remember if my husband had the doors in the room he was sleeping in open or closed that day, except for that back wall where the bedrooms and bathrooms were. The house had windows all the way around it, large floor-to-ceiling windows along the front and line of the large
What the monkey?
It was originally built as sort of a camp/getaway cabin. Windows.
When you scream, ice cream.
Disagreed and was in the process of building a front porch and replacing about half those windows with walls. However, at the time, the porch was still being built, and none of the windows had been changed or taken out yet. This is a lot.
Oh my god!
Can you imagine this? You just picture this house. I just imagine a rectangle. Literally a rectangle a box. You have a front door with a couch and then 3 doors on the opposite wall. It's strange layout. I suppose it would be important. At least I hope they didn't give a 2-paragraph introduction to this house where it's not to be. Apparently lots of this particular bed was holding an 18-month-old with a child on each side of us. We had all been asleep for a while when I woke up. I'm not sure what time it was, but the house was mostly quiet and no one else was awake. I moved quietly without moving around. For a little while, I couldn't figure out why I was awake at all, much less so alert. Not long after, I decided it was just one of those things, sleep cycle, blah, 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 and was about to try to go back to sleep. Someone knocked on the front door. Not a loud, maybe knock, but definitely not. The air mattress was in the middle of the living room area.
Alright, I'll be back. I'll be back, baby. Sit in my chair and watch my live.
I was in the middle of 3 sleeping children. It was late, it was cold, and we were cozy and warm, all snuggled together. It wasn't my house/company. No one seemed to notice someone was knocking. The knocking went on for longer than I would have knocked on someone's door in the middle of the night, and it did get more persistent, though never did turn into banging. No one called out for somebody to answer the door, and no one's cell rang. Finally, I heard someone walking down the unfinished porch. They had stacked some boards and tools and stuff against the front of the house. I heard no clatters or thumps or anything like that. But it did sound like whoever was out there was having to walk on and around those building materials. And then I heard a distinct tapping on the window, closest to the kids and me. There was a small, older TV and some small stereo speakers sitting on 2 small tables, about nightstand size actually. The one holding the TV was an old nightstand, and I had given it to him years before. Between the air mattress and the windows. Oh my god, I'm sorry. This sentence structure is like not facing away from the windows. The tapping was right there where our heads were. An entire wall of floor-to-ceiling windows. The tapping was done only in the area.
What do you cook golden mushrooms?
Lying beside it, if I hadn't been facing the direction.
Hey Siri,
I don't think I took a
how do you
single
cook golden
breath until it stopped,
mushrooms?
and I heard footsteps walking away.
Eat a large regular or cast iron
Across
skillet.
10, all the way to the end of the porch where the driveway was. Walking across sheets of tin makes a pretty distinct sound. I know exactly what it sounds like when someone walks on tin. What I did not realize until the next morning was that the only sheets of tin out there were already in place because they had finished putting it up as a roof over the porch before stopping for the evening, which meant that there was no sheets of tin stored against the wall/under the windows with those boards and tools and whatever else that was there. The only way for someone or something to have walked across those sheets of tin, which I am certain beyond a shadow of a doubt that I had heard happening after an unknown someone knocked and tapped for so long, it became unsettling rather than annoying. Would have been for them to jump/swing up onto the top of the porch/house from an incomplete porch floor and then jump back down at the end. It scares me in a way nothing else ever has and still does every single time I accidentally think about it. And that's why I'm typing this right now. And probably also why the owl chose just now to let the most terrifying un-owl-like sound before transitioning to its usual eerie owl sounds.
Do you know Hobby Lobby has hundreds of incredible products on sale every single week? Just check out our weekly ad to discover unbelievable savings across the store and start shopping in-store or online at hobbylobby.com today.
I'm kind of confused. I am kind of confused. That was a little bit confusing. Can't lie. Now, I mean, I do see this comment here. It says, "Need more info. Did you ask the old man if he knew about this? Where was it?" Another comment says, "This is creepy. I've always been told to never answer the door, open a window, or look outside to a 3 knock knock at night. Something about inviting spirits in." And another comment says, "Whatever it was, was not human. I mean, do I think this is a true story? Honestly, it sounds like it could be a realistic story. Knocking at night, okay, it is quite unusual, but not like, supernatural, unworldly type of unusual. The way the story was written kind of makes it seem like they were just trying to include as much detail as possible. I don't know, maybe it's like set the scene or just like try to really say like, oh, this is a true story. But honestly, there was way too much detail. Like, bro, oh my goodness gracious. We learned about freaking nightstands, space heaters, three doors, her father-in-law's sleeping habits, and I can't lie, not really relevant to the knocking. Now, I mean, I think the window part was good. Maybe like describing the living room was also good, but come on, some of those other details were probably not necessary. Like if you look at this story, literally half of it is just setting up like the space, the context of what this space looks like. But yeah, definitely a little bit spooky. Like if I was in like this person's situation, I would definitely be a little bit creeped out. I do have to take a couple points off though for the sentence structure. I was struggling trying to figure out like when a sentence like ended and when the next one began. But this is a good intro story, kind of spooky there. I'll give this a 4 out of 10. I'll give this a 4 out of 10. Hopefully this next one will be better though. Story number 2 here from r/true scary stories once again. User Peter_Puck. My wife stepped on something in the lake. The next day, they found body. And it does have the terrifying tag. This is a very, very short one, but maybe it will be better. Also, 1.5K upvotes, so we'll see about this. My wife stepped on something in the lake. The next day, they found a body. A few years ago, when my daughter was a toddler, my wife and I used to take her to a nearby lake to picnic, swim, and just unwind. It was a peaceful spot. Quiet, not too crowded, the kind of place where you could easily forget about the world for a while. One afternoon, after we finished eating, my wife decided to go for a quick swim while I stayed on the beach with our daughter. I watched her wade out into the water, the sun sparkling off the surface. A minute later, she suddenly stopped and turned to me, shouting something. At first, I couldn't make out what she said, but her expression was off. Then I heard her clearly. I think I just stepped on someone's face. I froze for a second, thinking maybe she was joking, but the look on her face wasn't playful. It was pale, almost terrified. She quickly started making her way back to the shore, her legs moving faster, like she couldn't wait to get out of the water fast enough. When she got back to me, she was physically shaking. She said that while she was swimming, her foot brushed up against something soft, and at first she thought it was a rock or weird patch of seaweed. But when she pressed her foot down, she felt the unmistakable shape of a face beneath the water, a nose, an eye socket. She swore she felt the hollow of the eye. I considered going in to check it out, but something stopped me. The uneasiness in my gut, maybe. We decided to pack up and leave after that. The next day, local news reported that a young boy who had been missing for days was found drowned in that same lake not far from where we had been. He'd been there the whole time, just beneath the surface. To this day, my wife is convinced she stepped on his face. God damn, bro, what? Also, this closing line, this is such a, I'm sorry, this is actually a very grim story, but this closing line, I think he could have worded it a bit differently, I will be honest, but god damn, bro. I mean, this sounds, number one, definitely a lot better written than the previous story that we read. This one is creepy. This one is actually terrifying. If that was me, if I was in the lake, bro, and I felt like my foot touched something soft, I'm out of there. There's a reason I don't swim in lakes. I can't swim, by the way. There's a reason I don't freaking swim in lakes, and that's because you don't know what people throw in there. And in this case, well, I hope he wasn't thrown in there, but damn, dude. Also, if there's a child who's been missing for days, you think there's maybe I feel like there'd be like some sort of search, right, going on. Isn't like that like the first thing the police will do? They'll like scour the lake. Well, I don't know how that exactly works, but there is a follow-up here. You take a look. It says this was in the year 2000, a while ago. Yeah, she's fine, but I don't think she would have been fine had she reached down or I had found the body and pulled it up or something. He also says it's a small lake, almost a pond. The police said the body was not found where we were, which was at the public swimming area. We think they are either lying to avoid alarming the public or the body drifted. And he says, in hindsight, obviously we should have reported. We were young and silly and allowed denial to creep in on the way home. That all went away with the news story. Yeah, imagine if they investigated that. That's probably for the best. Maybe you should have told someone, but damn, bro. I mean, in the year 2000, that's 24 years ago. But the fact that, like, a pond, how big is a pond? A pond is pretty freaking small, no? Like, to have a public swimming area in a pond? That must be a massive pond. I think I've only ever swam in, like, rivers or lakes maybe twice. Once was at a Boy Scout camp, and another time was also on a Boy Scout trip. But just like not being able to see in the water, not like knowing what's there, it is like just terrifying, bro. I cannot, man. I cannot. Oh, and look, someone said this. This is why swimming in lakes and rivers is terrifying to me. Even swimming in some New Jersey shore beaches that are close to New York City is the possibility of brushing up against a body. So terrifying. Is that a real thing? Any East Coasters out here? Is there really? Is that something people? The chances of brushing up against a body are so high. That's crazy, bro. That is crazy. Amazing. My local lake had reported many deaths. Most of the time, the bodies aren't even found. Till this day, people are still swimming in the lake. Yeesh. That means the body must have been in there for a while too, right? Because like when a body is like, fresh, doesn't it float? And then once all the oxygen like comes out of the lungs and the body, then it'll sink to the bottom, right? So if he was low enough to be stepped on, I guess a couple days, man, terrifying to think about. Well, I will rate this one. I'd give this one like a solid 7. Oh, fresh body. Oh, right, you're right. It's the opposite. Fresh bodies don't float. It's after the decomposition, right? And then all the gases are released. Then the bodies float. You're right. Damn, that must have been fresh then. Oh my gosh. That's even scarier. Bro. Yeah, I give this like a 7. It's short, it gets right to the point, and honestly, sounds pretty realistic. Yeah, she did say eye socket, but then again, I don't know if I were like stepping down on something in the water. I don't know if I'd be able to make out like what it was, let alone like an eye socket. But it could have been like a mouth, I guess. I don't want to think about it, bro. I don't want to think about it. All right, next story, number 3 here.
Fazoli's spaghetti with perfectly seasoned marinara collides with fettuccine smothered in creamy Alfredo, topped with mozzarella and provolone cheeses and baked to bubbly perfection. It's a fettuccine and spaghetti big duo, and it's only $5.99, including your famous breadsticks. Only at Fazoli's.
Refresh the everyday with Mentos milk. Yes to fresh. From r/let's not meet. This one is actually NSFW. What does this mean? Hello, Andy, editor. What do you mean? What do you mean by this tag here? Well, I guess we'll find out here. And it says, I had a stalker once when I was in community college. TLDR, in college, another student began hanging out with me during my class gaps. I thought it was normal at first. He brought small gifts. Then I said some things that might have upset him. He started stalking me, showing up outside my house and at places I posted on my Instagram story. I called the police. They couldn't do anything since he hadn't broken any laws. I didn't tell my parents for fear they'd overreact. Eventually, he kind of just went away. I think it's because he gave up, but honestly, I have no idea what he's doing now. Trigger warning, stalking, allegedly. This happened like 6 to 7 years ago now. Feel free to ask any questions. Your questions might help jog my memory, and I'll remember more details. I played soccer for 1 year in community college after high school. I knew this guy because he worked for the athletics department. He was another student. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I had a 1 hour gap between classes. This guy noticed me in the library, asked what I was doing there. I told him I had an hour-long gap, and he started coming regularly to hang out. I didn't mind because he seemed like a normal guy. He wasn't waiting for anything, but he just wanted to hang out. He brought me little gifts a few times, like chocolate and stuff. He was being a little too sweet for someone I barely knew. I didn't think about red flags. With the gifts, I remember he always downplayed it. He'd be like, "They have extra Kit Kat bars today in the office. Do you want some?" He never said that he purposely brought Kit Kat for me. I know a lot more about boys now. I know a lot more about boys now than I knew back then. I feel like, okay, come on. I feel like that's already like kind of a bit of a red flag, you know what I mean? Like a guy that you don't even know, like barely mutual acquaintances, just starts coming to the place that you're hanging out for your like gap. I guess that's how people make friends, right? I guess. Maybe before the year of social, maybe before like social media era, like this was more normal. Nowadays, okay, maybe it is still normal for people who have like social lives. I don't know. Maybe it's not okay. We're gonna have to keep going here. I think he knew that by buying me gifts, or wait, I think he knew that that. Okay, I knew I wasn't like just mixing up my words. They have extra words in here. Anyways, I think he knew that buying me gifts would be too much, but he still wanted to do it without doing it. That's a tongue twister. Soccer season for us ended before Thanksgiving. The only teams that kept playing after that were going to the playoffs, not us. After Thanksgiving, we had finals. In that brief period after the soccer season and before Thanksgiving, he asked me about my classes for second semester. To be honest, I hadn't been super organized with course registration, and I honestly didn't know. Also, the counselors were completely clueless. I didn't tell him that, but I remember saying I didn't want to have another gap hour like this because it wasted so much time. I don't think he was happy to hear that. He also asked if I would play another season, and I said no to that. I needed to manage my time better, and playing soccer every day was not helping. I think my mistake was that I just said too much and unfiltered. I used to do that a lot back then, saying too much without thinking about how it can affect other people's feelings. That was on the last Thursday before Thanksgiving, so no more hour gaps to hang out anymore. We had Thanksgiving break, we took finals, and we had winter break. Everything was great. Winter break was when the real problem started. In the mornings, this guy literally showed up outside my house while sitting in his car. The first time, I didn't believe it was actually him. The second time, I checked, and it was. By then, it was really clear that we both knew what was going on. He was stalking me. That wasn't all. I posted on my Instagram story sometimes about places I was. This guy literally showed up there several times, like early stores at the mall where he had zero business being. He did lots of things like that. He also started pointing his phone at me while he was taking pictures. That was even weirder. I basically stopped using social media over this. After winter break, this continued. When my parents were at work, this guy came during the afternoon too. I called the cops a few times. They went and tried to talk to him. He basically told them he wasn't going to talk, and that was it. I think the cops wanted to help, but they could never do anything about it because he was careful not to break the law. Like, he didn't trespass, he didn't make threats, he didn't show weapons, etc. I have no idea what he's doing now. My guess is that he gave up. Maybe his little obsession kind of became old and he found other things to pay more attention to. At least I hope so. But if he still comes by, I have no idea. I think the most challenging thing is I couldn't tell my parents since I knew they would completely freak out. Oh my gosh. I just wanted, if I post, okay, well, to be fair, I don't really use social media. I should, but I'm an influencer. I should be posting on like social media. But when I do like post on social media, like, Instagram stories and stuff, this is why I wait. I always wait until like I leave the area before like I publish the story. Because like it's unlikely. There's always a chance, you know what I mean? Like don't post that with a chance. I feel like I've told this story before, but I did have one experience. Now it wasn't really a stalking experience, but I wonder if this user watches the streams as well. There was this one time when I was in school, and I got an email. I bet I can still find it here. Oh, here it is. Yes, there was. I did get this email, and it was during the summer, so I wasn't at school. But it says, "Hello, Anthony. I'm," and their name, and it says, "I'm a high school senior. I visited Williams College earlier, hoping that I'd see you. Definitely did not search you up online and read Williams' article you're featured in." Now there's more to this. They do go on to say they didn't see me because it was summer, and that this college, and that their sister was like a big fan of their videos and streams, and they attached this picture as well. Let me show you here. They also attached this picture here. And what is that? I think this is an ant. I'm pretty sure this is an ant that they circled, like on a countertop. And the funny thing is, 20 minutes later, they send me a follow-up email and they say, "I didn't realize how creepy that last email sounded, especially because I don't know how often you're recognized outside of the people you know." And they said like, "Sorry for that," and that they found out about me like through their sister and stuff like that. And I don't think they like sent that email with like malicious intention. I don't think it was supposed to be like "Oh, I know where you are. I'm going to find you." But just like getting that email and then like looking at like the description or like the summary description thing, and just seeing like, "I visited Williams College earlier today, hoping I'd see you." That was a crazy moment, bro. Now, obviously, just like a student who was like touring colleges, and they happened to tour the college that I was at. I really doubt it was anything creepy like that, but yeah, that is my one and only experience with this sorts of things. Also, if you still watch my content, by the way, the person who sent this email, I'm not going to expose you, obviously. I just want to say, listen, you sent the email, so it's fair game. I don't think badly of you of it, though. I don't take it personally. Although this was 3 years ago. So I don't even know if they still watch my content, but hey, if you do watch my content, that would be crazy. Anyways, going back to the actual review. Honestly, this is like a pretty real story. Hanging out like during like your gap between classes, like that's not too creepy, but it's crazy that there was never like any like red flags. You know what I mean? I guess the red flags was like the gifts, but I don't really understand like what she said to like piss him off that much to the point where like this dude started stalking her. You know what I mean? Like just showing up outside her house and the places that she would go to. Like all she really said was, oh, she doesn't have a gap period anymore. You know what I mean? Like maybe this is like paraphrase, but yeah, I feel like I don't like his gap periods because it's like kind of a waste of time, and then I'm not playing soccer. So what like triggered this guy to be such a freak? Like goodness gracious. Also, did they like never talk about it? I mean, I'm assuming they were kind of friends. Well, friends in quotes. You know what I mean? Because if you are like willing to tolerate and hang out around someone for like an hour throughout the semester, every single day, like during your gap periods, I don't know. I feel like some sort of like explanation probably could have been provided. But then again, like she's not on, right? Like if this dude's showing up outside your house, like bro, just yeah, I'd call the police too. I would call the police too. He took it too personally, but it wasn't her fault. Yeah, I don't think it's her fault at all. This dude is just like crazy, honestly. Maybe he thought like they were friends. But I guess she never saw him that way. Maybe he took her saying the gap was a waste of time, as in meeting him was a waste of time. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. I can see that. It's kind of crazy that he took it that way. If like what she said in the story is true, or she just said like, oh yeah, I don't want another gap hour because it to take that as like I feel like that dude is definitely making a bit of a stretch. You know what I mean? Especially if she didn't share where she even lived. Yeah, I don't know. We don't have the information on that. But goodness gracious, worst fear for real. You always hear like the horror stories about stuff like this. Thankfully, this one doesn't have a terrifying ending. But yeah, just the thought of like this happening, bro. All right, on to the next. Or actually, we have to rate this one. What would you guys give this? What would you guys give this? Honestly, just looking at like story structure, I'm thankful nothing terrible happened to the poster, but just like from a story standpoint, purely story standpoint, and also the fact that like I was having a really hard time reading the story because there was like repeating words in it. Yeah, I give it like a five. I give it like a five.
YouTube is amazing, but it can be a little overwhelming. At Zephyr, we make sense of YouTube for brands.
Prioritize your style with 40% off the spring shop right now at Hobby Lobby. Save on items that will help you be practical in style while giving everything in your space a place. Save 40% on the spring.
All right, on to story number 4. This one's a bit longer here. It is from r/no sleep, and it says, my friend and I went hiking, and I'm starting to think she never left these woods. Something about this title tells me that it's not a true story. Maybe it is, though. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. My friend Samantha and I were so excited to take a road trip together to go hiking somewhere further from home. We've been talking about it since around the time. Well, she always made the time. It was me that had trouble balancing work with everything else. Looking back now, I wish I spent more of this trip focusing on Sam, scenery, and being present in the moment. I wish I had been a better friend. Sam was the most excited for our trip. The week before we left, she was texting me about restaurants in the area, stuff to do. She made a Spotify playlist with both our favorite songs so we could listen to 7 hours worth of a selectic mix of classic rock, pop, and black metal, and was marking trailheads you might enjoy on her Google Maps app. I'm not sure if I said this right. I felt bad for putting the trip off for so long. We got to catch up, explore, and try cool food. We had a great trip up until our final hike. We're both in decent shape, and since we had the supplies and plenty of daylight, we decided we were going to try a longer, unpaved trail that went around this beautiful lake. It was the last hike of our trip, and we decided to take a more difficult and less crowded. Pine trees and rolling hills were breathtaking. The air was thinner than we were used to, but so refreshing. As we hiked around one bend, I almost ran right into back. I had been falling behind, focusing on placing my feet in exactly the right locations in the soft dirt, so I didn't go sliding down 20 feet to the shore. Sam stood frozen, a deer in front of her blocking the trail. As I approached with my backpack jingling and breathing heavily, the deer stood for a moment more, tilting its head sideways at me before darting back into the pines. She looked back at me, her face tight. Did you see that? The deer? Yeah, it was pretty magical. She gave a little laugh as she started up again so we could both move onto the section of the trail that had sturdier footing. No, I mean, something was wrong with that deer. It was way too comfortable around me, and I don't know if you could see or hear it, but it was drooling and making these weird sounds. We continued on in silence after that as we focused on our footing in the scenery, stopping every so often to take pictures. One time, when we were stopped, we heard rustling to our right, higher up on the hill. I got the bear spray out and held onto it. It seemed to be walking parallel to us, roughly matching our pace. It sounded big, too. Eventually, the hiking trail rose to meet the higher part of the hill, and I couldn't help but sigh in relief. Pulled my ankle and tumbled down the mountain, so it was have more room, so I wasn't walking right on the edge. Back in college, I'd sprained my ankle badly, but couldn't afford to see a doctor. It healed a bit oddly, and since then, my left ankle has been iffy. After a while, I needed to sit for a moment, walking uphill for an hour in addition to the 65,000-foot elevation. I was struggling. Maybe I'm also willing to admit, too. Sam sat with me for a moment, but then saw some wildflowers about 10 feet into the woods, enough to go take a quick picture. With her gone, I felt a sudden chill. Something was watching me. Sam, I called out nervously as the rustling grew louder, and I gripped my container of bear spray tightly. It stepped out of the woods, and it was just a deer. Or more specifically, it was the deer. The same one that Sam and I had encountered. Now that she pointed it out, I could see what she was saying. The deer had no issues approaching me. It was scrawny, walked slowly, but like it had a bit too much to drink, and it was definitely drooling. I jumped up and waved my arms at it. Go away. I knew it was sick, and the poor thing was confused and probably suffering, but it creeped me the hell out. It cocked its head and seemed to be studying me, looking me up and down. It approached me and made some sort of gasping sound. It was opening and closing its mouth in a way which deeply unsettled me for some reason. Sam! She came running towards me from the woods, and when I turned back, it had gone. Are you okay? What happened? The creepy deer was back. I know it sounds silly, but I think it's been following us. I told her how it had been behaving. Do you think it's rabid? Poor baby, she said sympathetically. Possibly, or I wonder if it has CWD. Either way, we should probably let the park rangers know just in case. We had decided we'd stick together, but after a few miles, she ended up ahead of me again. She tends to inch forward to get pictures, whereas I tend to walk past sights, then have regrets and double back to take pictures. I had walked back a bit and was sitting down, angling my phone weirdly to try and fit the scene in front of me in the frame, when I heard Sam's voice, but I couldn't make out what she was saying. Hey, I'll be right there, I said, my voice raised slightly, assuming she was talking to me. Then she screamed. Sam! I stood up and tried to walk as quickly and carefully as possible. Her screaming changed from fear to agony, and it sounded like she was sobbing. I wasn't sure what happened, but I could tell she was scared and likely hurt. I suddenly realized I was still holding our only canister of bear spray. Against my better judgment, I started running as fast as I could, and for a while I was making good time. Then my left foot landed in a patch of soft dirt at the edge of the trail. My ankle rolled and I was falling. I don't remember hitting the ground, but I remember opening my eyes, flat on my back, about 15 feet below where I had been standing. It was also dark outside. We'd started hiking at least 6 to 7 hours before sunset. I tried to stand, but it was a struggle. I was confused, disoriented. Trying to get up was taking all my energy and focus. I had a deep feeling of dread I couldn't explain. As I started slowly moving upwards, on my hands and knees, I tried to recall what had happened leading to my fall. Sam sounded hurt. She was screaming. I had run after her and then I fell. S word. Sam. I called her name, my voice hoarse, but no response. My phone was surprisingly only minorly damaged, but I had no reception. Luckily, since it had been buckled to me, I still had our backpack. I dug through it. We had first aid kits, but I figured I could patch myself up later. I didn't want to stay down here any longer than I had to. I found my knife and my headlamp. After about 20 minutes, I had slowly and painfully ascended back towards where I had fallen from. My hands were raw and I could feel my right knee bleeding through my pants. I was trying to go slowly since I trusted my feet even less now, and dizziness was starting to creep in, but panic and fear drove me forward. Once I made it back to the trail, I had to sit for a moment. I heard rustling behind me and felt a sudden pang of fear. Something or someone had injured Sam, and here I was, sitting alone, injured, with my back to the woods, in the dark. I tried calling her name, in case it was her that I heard. No response. I stood up and started limping as quickly as possible towards the direction that I had heard her scream. Luckily, the ground had evened out, because I could feel myself leaving unsteadily. I knew that something terrible may have happened to her, but kept trying to keep that thought out of my mind. As my calls to her remained unanswered and it became harder to imagine a scenario in which she was okay, I felt my throat tighten and tears rolled down my cheek. I kept looking for her. I knew she wouldn't just leave me here. I think part of me knew then that she was gone. She would have been searching for me if she was okay, and even if she left to get help, I think they would have found me by then. Somehow, eventually, I navigated my way to where I thought she had last been. I was hoping maybe if she was injured, she was okay, and just out of it, confused like I was. My foot caught in the mud and I fell. Lights flashed behind my eyelids, and I felt overcome with nausea. The light from my headlamp had greatly dimmed, and it was now coated in mud and grime. I heard movement behind me. As the smell hit me, I realized the mud was dirt mixed with blood. I could taste it